everybody. And we are live, and you'll notice that we are
not at home.
We are not in our normal environment.
We're at home number 2.
If you've been watching for a while, you might seem vaguely familiar. We do occasionally get to do an episode from up here. We're in Clayton, New York tonight. Probably cannot see with the sun glare behind us.
It's sunsetting. It's beautiful, but it makes this lovely glow of the red going on here.
Yes,
I look very redheadish. The sunset's pretty that way over the water.
But unfortunately, just as you can't get a good picture of the moon, you can't get a good video of the sunset. It just completely washed things out. So
you look at it, you have pretty dots.
We're not going to tease you with that. But right behind us, we got the St. Lawrence River. It's nice and gorgeous out there this evening. Nice and a little on the cool side too. So we're making the most of that. But
waiting for technical things to load.
We'll get by. And we do have the kitty cats with us. Nico's around somewhere.
The others are hanging out with the grandpa.
Yeah, they're dozing. But hope everybody's been well, and appreciate y'all's patience, because we realize that this has been 3 weeks, not our normal 2-week cycle. This time last week, we were hanging out with our friends at Richmond Region Tourism. They had a special event last week that we definitely did not want to miss, so we postponed this a week. But that means that this time next week, we will be back again to get us back on the schedule. So we will have shows 2 weeks in a row. Tonight we have Haunted England Part 2, and next week we are going to be doing Haunted Iceland.
Which has been very interesting to research, I might say.
It's just fascinating.
It is, but trying to find the more modern stories versus the sagas. You're being loud.
Yes.
It has been very interesting.
That, or is it this? I don't even know.
I was thinking it was this one, trying to finish setting up. It's this one.
It's that one. Okay. Apologies for the technical difficulties. But anyways, so hope that you all are doing well. And
shush.
That is ridiculous.
Okay, we're silenced.
Hope that you all are doing well. We're it's been busy, but busy in a good way.
Script.
And do want to give a quick mention. Now we are basically in our summer season.
Yes.
Happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Yes, happy Memorial Day.
And great appreciation to those that gave all for our country. So
yes, thank you.
Definitely want to acknowledge that on this day.
Remember them.
And remember that. And there's Nico. If you're wondering where Nico is, he's busy.
He wants this, but he's not playing with this.
He's just repeatedly stabbing us in the back with a claw.
Yeah.
But
anyway, things coming up. By the way, we have one Friday the 13th this year. It is next month. You all need to come out on tour. It's the only one of the year.
Yes. And it's a special event.
It is. It's our John Marshall and the Ghosts of Corden tour.
So, yes, go ahead and get your tickets for that now, because that one is super limited. We only sell just a few tickets for that one to begin with. If you want to join us for the John Marshall House tour on Friday the 13th, no less, you can get the tickets for that right now on the website, hauntsofrichmond.com. But with that, we got Patrick here. Good evening, Patrick. And yes, we are going to be enjoying our break. I mean, we're a few days in already, but we got a few more days that we're looking forward to. It's going to be a nice, relaxing week. So awesome for that. And just because we're up here, our guides
are running things for the weekend and the week.
Are doing a wonderful job doing so. So you don't have to miss out on tours in Richmond if you want to. If you want to go on out and do that, they're holding down the fort while we're up here goofing off for a few days.
And I see Roberta. We are going to do some blog posts while we're up here, so you will have some forthcoming vlog.
We're gonna catch up on a little bit of that. So
it may be vacation, but it's also working vacation for haunt stuff and just getting caught up. I do have my reunion while we're up here, though.
Yes.
So we're going to go visit my haunted campus that we have talked about in previous shows.
Yeah. So Patrick and Roberta, and I don't know if you can see him. Here's Nico.
He's hiding. There we go.
But
he blends in with Daddy.
And Dana, we're doing all right. So hope that you are doing well as well. So let's go ahead. Let's dive in. We got Haunted England. We've talked about England honestly many times before. We dedicated an entire episode to that. To England, we've dedicated an episode to London transportation. So mostly the tube stations in London that are haunted.
We've talked about castles. We've talked about palaces. We've talked about some libraries.
Lots of one-off stories from other subject episodes. So
England has provided a wealth of stuff.
Yes, and of course, even after we get through this particular episode, there will still be plenty more times where you will hear us talking about England in the future. But for tonight, we're going to start with Felbrigg Hall. Now, this is in North Norfolk and is one of the finest houses in East Anglia. Originally the home of the Felbrigg family, the land and house were acquired in the 15th century by the Wyndhams. Although the last Wyndham died over 200 years ago, and the home has been in the hands of the National Trust since the 1960s, not all of its past residents seem eager to quit their former home. By far, the most famous spirit inhabiting the hall is that of William Wyndham III, known as the Fighting Wyndham for his sporting prowess. William Wyndham was a prominent statesman for much of his life. His career spanned the American Revolution, the French Revolution, and the colonial wars of the early 19th century. But his true passion was the estate library. Unfortunately, that would be his undoing. The Gothic Library at Felbrigg was developed in the 1750s. It houses about 5,000 books, terrestrial and celestial globes, and a secret door. Because, of course, you have to have a secret door.
You have to. Any good library has to have that.
Now, both William II and William III brought back books from their travels to fill the library. And it was in 1809, in the summertime, that William III met his fate. As he neared his house, he saw that a fire had erupted in the house of his friend, Robert North. He knew that North had a library with valuable manuscripts, and Wyndham set out to help rescue the manuscripts from the library. During this process, he fell, bruising his hip. It was unfortunate that the bruise developed into a tumor and needed to be operated on. His final words addressed to his physician were, "I thank you. This is the last trouble I shall give you. You fight the battle well, but it will not do." He was buried in the family vaults at Felbrigg Church, a stone's throw from the hall. Even though Wyndham did not survive the operation, he did not give up on his passion for reading. His spirit has enjoyed this library in the centuries since his passing. When the estate was acquired by the National Trust, David Muffin was in charge of putting the was in charge of putting the estate in order. He first met Wyndham's spirit in November of 1972. Muffin was working at a desk in the library when he noticed a gentleman sitting in the armchair by the fireplace reading books. It was so natural, I thought nothing of it. After about 15 seconds, he put the book down beside him on the table and faded away. Muffin asked the old family butler of the house if there was any ghosts about, and he was told, "Oh yes, there's the ghost of William Wyndham, who sits on the armchair at the far side of the fireplace." For many years, the butler had set out books on the table for the ghost to read. Afterward, Muffin recalled having found a trunk of clothes in the attic which resembled the clothing the spirit of Wyndham was wearing from the 1780 period. Another tale of Felbrigg tells of an elderly woman recounting how she and other maids would find that their candles were mysteriously extinguished whenever they passed by a particular door. A female voice would beckon them to enter the chamber, but the room was always found to be uninhabited. For those wandering the grounds of Felbrigg, you might leave the hall and be walking about the grounds. You will soon find yourself amidst the dark woods of Felbrigg, where oaks, sweet chestnuts, and conifers hold sway. Here you may cross paths with Mad Wyndham, driving his phantom coach through the trees. Or perhaps you might experience a spectral wind rising out of nowhere and disappearing as suddenly as it arose. So,
because phantom coaches are a thing in England.
Oh, yes, they do love their phantom coaches.
Yes. I mean, we've talked about the one that comes from Anne Boleyn and also the Irish death coach.
Yep.
So Bauer.
But yes, the something Bauer. Koshabauer. Yes. But yes, they do love their coaches over there
dude?
And in the UK and in Ireland, as you do.
Yep. All right, so if you have seen any of the most haunted listings in England, you probably have heard about our next stop. It is the Ancient Ram Inn that is in Gloucestershire, and it has a rather interesting past with multiple former lives to tell. The inn itself dates back to 1145, and before that, the site was actually home to a multi-millennial pagan burial ground that is situated on the ley lines, which trace directly back to the ancient and mysterious site of Stonehenge. This connection gives rise to a legend that the strange paranormal happenings documented on the property relate to its unique and ancient past. The building that stands today was constructed in 1145. It has been home for slaves, masons, and other workers building the St. Mary's Church nearby. Streams on the ground have been diverted around the church's site, which is rumored to have opened up a portal for the dark energy used in rituals performed in the area. Again, rumored. After the masons and other workers moved out, the house became home to a priest. Later, it was made into an inn and a public house. And in 1968, someone bought the inn, and made it his home, but did not expect the part of a ghost hunt. He obviously did not do his research. Obviously. Anyway, John Humphreys, who bought the place in the late 1960s, preserved it from destruction, and the first night he stayed on property, he said he met the spirits that make this inn one of the most notoriously haunted spots in England. He claims that the demonic forces grabbed him by the arm, dragged him across the room from his bed. Since that time, he's found evidence of ritual sacrifices, devil worship on the inn's grounds, including skeletal remains of children that he believes were stabbed with daggers. Did he ever authenticate this stuff?
That's dicey at best.
Rumors. Anyway, the ghostly spirits never discouraged Humphreys from maintaining his residence there, though his wife and daughters left him at the inn and he remained preserving the building. Night after night, the spirits returned, but Humphreys stuck it out for more than 50 years until his death in the late 2017. Hi, Lulu. Or is that the Unina? That's the Lulu. We're trying to see if Lulu wants to come join. Anyway, she's just going to sit there.
We want the door open.
Yes, so she's just going to sit there.
Oh, we do have a live studio audience tonight as well.
Mom's in the house.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Lulu. And now Lulu does not like the fact that the door's closed again. Anyway, going back. He died in 2017. The inn has become a place of business once again, with a focus now on the haunted happenings. With strange glowing lights appearing in the corridors, a ghostly presence creeping on the staircase, and people even claiming encounters with a succubus. It's a little wonder that professional and amateur paranormal investigators alike flock to the Ancient Ram Inn to brave its haunts. For many, the moment you enter the old inn, an aura of dreadful foreboding envelops you. The bare walls, the creaking floors, the steep stairs, and the mysterious shadows will send a chill down your spine. Combine these with the endless list of ghost stories from within its walls, and even the most jaded, cynical, and skeptical of individuals. Give it pause.
What? Kim. What?
Nothing.
Did I miss an inside joke?
Yes, you did.
Are you the only one in on this inside joke? Am I the jaded, cynical individual?
Maybe.
Okay.
I just got likes and loves.
Noted.
Anyway. Yes, you're jaded and cynical, my love.
Okay. Noted.
You're not a skeptic, though. You do believe.
Yes.
Anyway, the first room that the visitors encounter is the men's kitchen. This reputedly stands on the site of a pagan burial ground, and the disturbing sound of baby crying is often heard here. People ascending the steep staircase up to the first floor have been thrown up the stairs by an invisible hand. Well, that's better than being thrown down the stairs.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. That's nice for a change.
Yeah. A photograph taken here in June of 1999 showed a mysterious white mist about the height of a human ascending the staircase. On the first floor is the Ram's most haunted and terrifying room. This is known as the Bishop's Room. A medium pushing open its door was once lifted off the ground and flung across the corridor. The atmosphere inside is oppressive and disturbing. A ghostly cavalier has been known to materialize by the dressing table and stride purposely across to the opposite wall, and he's far from alone here. The bishop's room also offers 2 monks that have been seen shimmering in the corner. I'm sorry. My theater side is going shimmering, glitter, sequins. What are we doing? Pyrite dust? Just curious.
Witnesses have heard the terrified screams of a man who was reputedly murdered here by having his head thrust into the fire. That was dramatic effect.
That's very...
Then there's a phantom shepherd and his dog that have been seen near the door.
There's your ghost animal, Patrick.
Yep. Those who spend the night in the room have often attracted the affections of the pre-mentioned succubus. And even a Roman centurion appeared on horseback riding through the walls towards plumbers who were minding their own business. And
that's just one room.
Yes, that was one room. Just one room. So, yes.
I don't want to stay in that room.
Aw, where's your sense of adventure?
It's the succubus.
Oh.
The rest I can handle. I really don't care for a succubi.
Okay.
Okay. Just knowing where my boundaries are. Moving on. Now we're just getting to the attic. Climbing into the tight confines below the roof timbers, guests are treated to immense melancholy hanging in the air. An innkeeper's daughter is said to have been murdered in this roof space in the early 1500s. People attempting to sleep in the bishop's room below have often heard the sound of something heavy being dragged across the floor above their heads. Surprisingly, many don't consider the bishop's room to be the most famous room in the inn. That distinction goes to the witch's room. The height of the witch hunting mania in the 1500s, there was a woman who fled prosecution and sought refuge at the inn. Unfortunately, she was soon captured and burned at the stake. Of course, she lives on in legend, and the room where she hid has been dubbed the witch's room, and her spirit is believed to be haunting it to this day. There are countless other tales in the inn, stories from spirits of ritually murdered children, exorcism, other dark events in the millennia-old inn. Orbs of these spirits, dubious as orbs are as evidence, have been photographed by paranormal investigators many times over the years. Orbs aside, the more puzzling lights that are visible to the naked eye have taken many people by surprise and left them with quite a scare. If you stop, and if you're brave enough, this must be a stop for your paranormal road trip across the English countryside.
Yeah.
I don't think we're driving by it.
No, I don't think so. I got to double check. But the shepherd and his dog, the dog, ghost dog, and the horse. Remember this?
Oh yes, Roman centurion.
Roman centurion on horseback. So you got a ghost horse and a ghost dog in one room. Hard to go wrong.
I'll go hang out in the witch's room.
Good deal.
She'll and I have a talk.
All right. So we are going to move on. Oh, yeah. And also, Patrick agrees with you with the succubus.
Yeah.
Got to draw the line somewhere.
That's where my line is drawn.
Yeah. No demons. So anyways, moving along, we are going to a place called Queen Anne's House, which was a royal home built between 1616 and 1635 near Greenwich Palace, a few miles down the Thames River from the City of London. The building has been significant for much of its existence. It is now part of the Royal Museums of Greenwich and what is now known as the Old Royal Naval College. What makes Queen Anne's House unique is the design by architect Ignacio Jones. Jones was commissioned in 1616 to build the house by King James I's wife, Anne of Denmark. Queen Anne's house was an apology gift to Anne by her husband because he swore in her presence. If
that is a much bigger swear jar.
That's quite the swear jar.
I'm just saying, a house, a palace.
You'd have a whole city by now.
I want to know what he said.
You'd have a whole city by now.
I really... I'll take Versailles. I've been there.
My mother would like Versailles.
I'd be happy with Edinburgh Castle.
Hey, if you're going to go for it, go big, right? So, anyways, the swearing was because Queen Anne accidentally killed one of the king's favorite hunting dogs while on a hunt. It's a pretty big oops.
She got a house out of it.
Yeah,
she got a palace.
Don't know exactly what the details were. I didn't catch that, but yeah, that poor dog. Anyways, why else would you hire someone to build a random house, right? Anyways. So, Anne was unable to enjoy her apology house because she died in 1619 when only the first floor was completed, and after her death, construction stopped entirely. James I's son, Charles I, gave the unfinished house to his wife, Henrietta Maria, who ordered construction to resume. Queen Anne's house was finally completed in 1936 and was named appropriately the Queen's House. The building was unique because it was the complete opposite of the typical red brick Tudor style of the building. So the architect, Jones, spent several years in the early 17th century in Italy. He studied art, architecture, and philosophy and was greatly influenced by the appearance of Renaissance-style architecture. When building Queen Anne's house, Jones used white stone for the structure and designed the building considering symmetry and harmony, while the Italian-style home was unlike any other Tudor building. It made Queen Anne's house an instant architectural highlight of the era. While Queen Anne's house was finished in 1636, Henrietta did not enjoy being in the home very long. The British Civil War began in 1642, and Henrietta disappeared into exile, a much better fate than that of Charles I.
Yep.
Charles I was killed, and all of the royal property was acquired by the state. That said, Henrietta was able to return to London in 1660 and resumed living in Queen Anne's house. From that point forward, Queen Anne's house was used by many royal family members until 1805. In 1805, King George III donated Queen Anne's house to a charity for the orphaned children of seamen. Queen Anne's house got a new name and was known as the Royal Naval Asylum. The Royal Naval Asylum was in operation in Queen Anne's house until 1933, when the organization relocated to Suffolk. Queen Anne's house was not in the market for very long. In 1934, the National Maritime Museum took over the home, which features a vast collection of British artwork. As is the case with many great historic houses, there are many rumors that Queen Anne's house is quite haunted, and some of the evidence here may have been caught on film.
And by the way, they don't shy away from this. I actually got the story straight from their website.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to the very specific, in just a moment.
Did Patrick just do it?
That's the Wikipedia page, okay. But another link I got for you. So just a second, I'll turn it over to you and let you go ahead.
In 1966, a retired Reverend, Mr. Hardy, and his wife came to visit Queen Anne's house because they had heard rumors about the famous tulip staircase that is the single most defining feature of the historic structure. And I gotta say, the staircase is gorgeous. I want to be in a sweeping dress and walk down it. Just saying. The photo is something that the Hardys would never forget. When the film was developed back in their home country of Canada, it appeared that there was a shrouded figure climbing the stairs. When inspected further, the spirit appears to be ascending the stairs in pursuit of a second and possibly third figure. The appearance of the second and the third figures is questionable at best, but you can 100% see a ghostly figure grasping and pulling its body up the stairs. The figure can be seen in the film negative, which nobody could explain. Of course, when the Hardys showed this and told people about the ghost host on the famous tulip staircase in the Queen Anne's house, everybody thought it was a creatively altered photograph. The couple insisted the staircase was empty when they took the photo, and the stairs were closed to visitors, so nobody should have been on them. They, nor anyone else, could climb the stairs. It was reported that the Reverend sent the photo and its negative to many different researchers searching for an explanation of what the picture showed. The puzzled researchers sent the print and the negative to Kodak Laboratory and to find an expert opinion. The Kodak Lab performed multiple tests on the film and concluded that neither the print nor the negative had been tampered with. It wasn't long after the photo was authenticated by the makers of the film that the news of the spooky shot spread. And this is how the Ghost Club becomes involved. The Ghost Club was a paranormal investigation organization. 7 of its members were sent to spend the night of June 24th, 1967 in the Queen's Anne house. And a move seen in the paranormal investigation shows today the members of the Ghost Club held a seance around a table near the tulip staircase. It shouldn't come as a surprise to learn that the Ghost Club investigators neither saw, smelled, nor heard anything that night. Maybe the spirit didn't want to be sought out. Perhaps it may have been on a break that day, took some time off from haunting the stairs, was elsewhere. But we know that there are still reports of ghosts in the Queen Anne's house today.
Yeah. Ghosts aren't on the payroll.
Yeah.
So.
And if you guys truly know about your ghost shows, that 47 minutes is condensed in from a week of being there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you don't get stuff every single night.
No. And Patrick, don't stop sharing those links. We appreciate it.
Yes.
So this was just a very specific one that we wanted to go ahead and be able to share with everybody. So if you go check that out, this is from the museum website with a picture of the Hardy ghost photograph. So very interesting photo, if you will.
So other phenomena that happens in the house, you include disembodied footsteps, the voices of children chanting, several full body apparitions. A ghostly maid has been reported mopping blood up from the ground on the bottom of the staircase. Witnesses say that the maid was dressed up in old-fashioned down from the top of the staircase. Old-fashioned clothing and was very pale. The sighting is a spine-chilling one because it is said that a maid had been thrown down from the top of the staircase and died upon impact at the bottom of the stairs. Was this the spectral figure mopping up her own blood? All we can say is Hardy's photo is the only physical source of proof that the Queen's Anne house is haunted. The gallery of assistants at the Queen's Anne house report ghostly encounters as well. An assistant who was on her tea break with her coworkers when they said they saw a woman glide across the balcony, then pass through the wall. The gallery workers said they went very cold, and then the hairs on their arms and neck stood on end. The shocked gallery assistant ran through the room of the Queen Anne's house that the ghost had passed through, trying to catch another glimpse of what they had witnessed, and the stunned human saw something pass through a wall and go out of sight through that wall. The specter is a lady well dressed in a white gray crinoline style dress. So who are they? Well, there's no solid proof, no archival records that anyone has died in the home, so the spectral identities are anyone's guess. If you want to see the haunted Queen's Anne's house, the Maritime Museum is using the home and it's open for 7 days a week. So maybe you can stroll through the house and get lucky.
Yeah. I mean, you want to see the place anyways. It's gorgeous.
It's a gorgeous house.
It's gorgeous. Just as all of those old mansions and palaces and whatnot are.
Yeah, I'm so glad that it's just been turned into a museum.
Yeah. Yep. One of the best possible outcomes. Yep. But wait, there's more. So we're moving along. We got another beautiful home for you. This one, maybe not quite as beautiful. I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, let's dive in. West of England. We are going to northeast of Bristol, to be specific. We are going to find Woodchester Mansion, nestled amidst beautifully wooded valley. Now, Woodchester is approached via a long and rutted track where the modern age slips further behind you with every mile. Finally, when you round a bend, huddled against a hillside is the gorgeous limestone mansion. The valley now occupied by Woodchester Mansion was originally the estate of the Ducey family. Where the mansion now stands once stood a large Georgian mansion called Spring Park, which was owned by the Ducey family. The Duceys purchased the park from George Huntley, who originally created a deer park and manor house on the property. Long story short, it's been quite the desirable place for many years. Now, legend holds that when the second Earl of Ducey threw a lavish party to celebrate his succession to the earldom in 1840, he was somewhat taken aback when his father's ghost interrupted the festivities by occupying the seat that he was intending to sit in at the head of the table. Indeed, it gave him such a fright that he left the place, never to return. In 1845, the northern part of his estate was purchased by William Lee, an immensely wealthy gentleman and a recent convert to Catholicism. Lee set about planning a house that would stand as a lasting testimony to his Catholic leanings. The task ultimately fell to a 21-year-old Benjamin Bucknell, a local architect. Bucknell set about designing a truly grandiose house, and for 16 years, craftsmen and builders labored on its construction. But then, suddenly, in 1868, for reasons which have never been fully explained, the workers literally laid down their tools and left the site, leaving its rooms unfinished and its windows unglazed. Rumors persist that a murder on the site was behind the exodus. It has even been suggested that supernatural activity may have been responsible. The likeliest explanation is that the project proved too costly even for William Lee's deep pockets and for the money, and that the money simply ran out. Whatever the explanation for the cessation of construction, the result today is that on entering the mansion, you step into a time warp and stray into a mid-19th century building site. Victorian tools lie scattered about the interior. Ladders remain propped where they were left against exposed walls. Fireplaces hang suspended in midair. Doors lead nowhere, and upstairs corridors end at precarious drops from which you truly begin to appreciate the sheer magnitude of this remarkable house. Following William Lee's death in 1873, his son, also named William, asked Bucknell to furnish him with two quotes, one to complete the house, the other to demolish it. When both proved prohibitively expensive, the mansion was simply abandoned. There was a sudden flurry of activity in 1894 when the drawing room was hurriedly completed for a visit by Cardinal Vaughan, Roman Catholic Archbishop of Westminster. But this was the only room ever to be finished, and thereafter its fortunes were left to time and fate. The granddaughters of William Lee sold the unfinished mansion to the Barnwood House Trust in 1938. This mental health charity had plans to build a mental asylum. However, the plans were shelved. During the Second World War, American and Canadian troops set up camp in the pasture opposite the manor and commandeered the house's cellars to store equipment. They used the lakes in Woodchester Park to train for the D-Day landings, and during one exercise, a bridge over the lake collapsed and several soldiers were drowned. Their bodies were brought back to the mansion, and despite over 60 years having elapsed since the tragic event, vestiges of it still seem to linger. Mediums have sensed the presence of people in military uniform inside, and the eerie sound of 1940s music has been heard echoing along the corridors. The house itself was used by the St. Paul's teacher training college. Despite being abandoned for many years, the local population ensured the house was never vandalized. The Stroud District Council purchased the surrounding land and leased it in 1992 to the Woodchester Mansion Trust. Today, the Board of Trustees oversees the Woodchester estate, who manages the mansion and opens it to the public. It is also used for stonemason training courses. Without doubt, one of the most curious and grandest parts of the house is the chapel. Some people have reported the strange smell of freshly extinguished candles there, although no candles had been burning prior to the appearance of the mysterious aroma. Others have caught sight of a short man standing in one of the chapel doorways. He does nothing except gaze up at the ornate windows, and he gives the impression that he is somewhat concerned about them. It has been surmised that he may be the ghost of a stonemason, and that his anxiety may be caused by the fact that water penetration during the years when the house was abandoned has caused a lot of damage to the chapel's stonework. He may also be behind the small stones that visitors have from time to time reported being flicked across the room when there is most certainly nobody visible in the direction from which the stone came. A phantom female voice has been heard singing in an Irish lament in the kitchen, whilst in this same room there have been reports of a youngish man crouched in a corner who is apparently hiding from somebody. He may have links to the remnant of a tall man who stands in the kitchen doorway and who appears to be searching for somebody as he leans toward the very area where the younger man has been sighted. Perhaps these two ghosts are in some way related to the manor's past, and their appearance is related to some long-forgotten incident. Indeed, it would seem that only the fact that they chose to manifest at different times has kept the younger man from being found. As many witnesses will attest, his hiding place is not that hidden. A young girl has been seen skipping playfully up and down the house's grand staircase, seemingly oblivious to the startled reaction she evokes from those who chance upon her. On the first floor corridor, the specter of a young woman has been both seen and heard, and she has been known on occasion to stand at one of the windows watching the comings and goings of visitors below. The pet dog of the house's caretaker seems to be more than aware of the ghostly presences that roamed the building. On one occasion, the caretaker watched it sit on the sofa and wag its tail at someone who it could obviously see, but who remained invisible to the caretaker. Moments later, the dog proceeded to lick thin air, and although no one was visible, its tongue was definitely bracing against something. Woodchester Mansion is also notorious for the amount of poltergeist activity. Strange noises echo through the abandoned halls, while visitors have been pelted by rocks and jerked around by invisible hands. Today, guests who are brave enough to chance an encounter with the ghosts and poltergeists of Woodchester Mansion, not to mention the resident bats, can visit the mansion. The magnificent landscaped park around the mansion, called Woodchester Park, is owned by the National Trust and is open on most weekends. So, if you want to go and check out the countryside of England and check out a haunted location, Woodchester might be right up your alley.
Yes.
Yes, hello, sir. You're restless.
Somebody has decided to come back and visit some more.
Yes.
Are you going to stand between the both of us?
He's going to do something.
Because have to touch both of us.
As you do.
All right, so we're going to talk about Lillie Langtry's. This is in the southwest along the coast stands a resort town of Torquay. This storied community has drawn people of all walks for generations, not to mention those who were born and raised there. Of all who have come and gone from here, few have matched Lillie. Torquay's resident George Bernard Shaw said of Langtry, "I resent Miss Langtry. She has no right to be intelligent, daring, and independent as well as lovely."
Okay.
A little jealous.
That's just a little bit.
Oscar Wilde commented, "I would rather have discovered Mrs. Langtry than have discovered America. She is the most beautiful woman in all the world." Theodore Roosevelt said of her, "She's so pretty, she takes away a man's breath." Lillie Langtry was born Emily Charlotte Le Breton in Jersey, in 1853, and by 1881, Lillie had become an actress and starred in many plays. She later became the manager of the London's Imperial Theatre and also manufactured claret at her 4,200-acre winery in California, which she had purchased in 1888 and sold in 1906. You lost your seat.
I lost my seat.
During her life, Lillie was the subject of widespread public and media interest, largely due to her relationships with noblemen such as the Earl of Shrewsbury and Prince Louis of Battenberg. It is the most famous of her relationships that supposedly brings Lillie and her ghost to Torquay. This affair was with Edward, Prince of Wales, later to become King Edward VII. Yeah, that Edward. Before he met Simpson Wallace.
Yes.
Anyway.
He got around a little bit.
Yes, he did. In 1874, Lillie was 22 when she married the affluent Irish landowner Edward Langtry. It has been a long claim that the couple then came to live in Torquay at her husband's villa. Yet there doesn't seem to be any record of this, and Lillie doesn't mention living in Torquay in her autobiography. A mystery.
There's plenty of gaping holes in this story.
Yes, there are.
But still,
it's a fun story.
It's an interesting story all the same.
Because, British scandal.
And if you ever go to Torquay and go on a ghost tour, you are going to hear about this lady.
Mm-hmm. The second Lillie association with Torquay is through Edward, Prince of Wales. Queen Victoria's Bertie spent the 60 years between being born and waiting for his mother to die by drinking and philandering. To further his extracurricular interest, on May 24th of 1877, he arranged to sit next to Lillie at a dinner party. Her husband, Edward, was seated at the other end of the table. Prince Albert was already married to Princess Alexandra and had 6 children, yet Lillie became his semi-official mistress. Infatuated with the actress, Edward presented her to his mother, Queen Victoria. The affair lasted from late 1877 to June 1880. While remaining friends, their relationship ended when she became pregnant. The father was probably her old friend Arthur Jones, whom she had gone to Paris for the birth of the child, Jean-Marie, in March of 1881. This is where the Torquay mythology begins. Edward, now king, was said to have given a villa named Dunstone to Lillie as a gift in 1901, almost 20 years after their affair ended. It was alleged that Edward bought the house so that he could pay her visits when he was moored on his yacht in the bay. Later known as the Audrey Court Hotel, the house is now where the Walberys nursing home. Historians...
This love triangle is more like a love spider web. It just
keeps going.
It goes everywhere. So.
And it's not a pretty web at all.
No.
Historians, however, have found no evidence of this actually being true. It's just a rumor spread about by the Torquay's invented tourist guides. Though Edward was certainly a visitor to Torquay, again, Lillie makes no mention of the house or any Torquay connection in her memoirs. The only circumstantial evidence is a slight story that when an application was made to demolish the house in 1974, a preservation order was placed on the building by the Department of the Environment. The solicitor acting for the owners guessed that there was some secret document which suggested that the house was somehow significant. Anyway, by 1901, Lillie had moved on, and she had become an American citizen and divorced her husband. In 1899, she married a much younger Hugo Gerard de Bath and became a leading owner in the horse racing world before retiring to Monte Carlo. She died there in 1929 and was buried in the graveyard of St. Saviour's Church in Jersey, the church of where her father had actually been the rector. The ghost of Lillie, nevertheless, has long been said to walk around the Torquay building, knocking at doors. Hotel guests have claimed to have seen a lady in a blue Edwardian dress on the stairs, and this was assumed to be Lillie, waiting for the return of her prince. Whether her Torquay connection is true or not, it's not the only place she's actually rumored to haunt. She gets around.
Oh, yes.
Not as much as Poe and Aaron Burr, but she gets around. Anyway.
No, not Aaron. His daughter.
His daughter, yeah.
Theodosia, thank you.
Thank you for the peanut gallery. Her spirit crops up in several places in London. The 65-room Cadogan Hotel in Knightsbridge is one of the oldest and most famous hotels in London. It's reputedly haunted by the actress. Also, during the 1960s, Lillie was blamed for creating the disembodied voices that could sometimes be heard in the now demolished 103 Alexander Road, once called Leighton House. While there's certainly a chance that these hauntings may be Lillie, it's just as likely people are inclined to associate a ghostly female of the Victorian era dress with the most famous actress of the Victorian era. Doesn't matter who her true identity might be.
Which is a shame for whoever the true identity might be, if it's not Lillie.
Yeah, I'm surprised she doesn't haunt the theater she used to.
I know.
I mean, that's where I would put her. Anyway.
Because every theater's haunted.
It is. And that would be a perfect reason to go back there for her.
True.
To tread the boards. Here's another possible reason for Lillie's reported appearances in the Warberys. It may be that the Torquay Love Nest is another manifestation of the tale related to the Bournemouth Langtry Manor, formerly the Red House. The Red House was built in 1877 by women's rights campaigner and temperance activist Emily Langton, not Langtry. That double Langton is correct.
So, yeah, Emily Langton. And not a typo.
Yep.
Double Langton.
In 1938, the new owners converted it into the Manor Health Hotel and advertised it as being built for Lillie by the prince. Note the parallels between Emily and Lillie's name. Preferably, Lillie's ghost is part of the story, and her fame is used to promote the business. To quote the hotel, Lillie and Edward were the only residents at the hotel for many years. So it's perhaps fitting that Lillie is often still seen around the hotel by both guests and staff in the form of a gray shadow.
It's got to be Lillie, right?
Yeah, has to be Lillie.
Yes.
Despite the hotel's claims, alongside local legend, even a blue plaque, no association between the celebrated lovers and the house exists. Professor Jane Ridley states in her 2012 biography of Edward VII that there's no evidence that the prince had any connection with the Red House or that ever went or stayed there. There's a striking similarity between the Red House story and the Dunstan Audrey Court Hotel stories relating to Lillie and the prince, and that maybe the people of Torquay just didn't invent ghosts, but they imported them with enthusiasm. So, whether Lillie actually spent time here is debatable, but her fame undoubtedly lives on.
Yeah. There's something spooky going on. And they love to relate it to this famous actress. But it's just a fascinating web that they weave down there in Torquay.
Yeah.
So, anyways, now this next one, is it Corfe or Corfe?
I don't know.
I'm going to go with Corfe.
Okay.
It's
Pretend it's got an accent.
Corfe. And if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, I apologize, but that's what we're going with. So Dorset's Corfe Castle has been a Saxon stronghold, a Norman fortress, a royal palace, and a family home over its 10 centuries of life in the Purbeck Hills of County Dorset. As you come across the stone bridge that spans its deep moat, you will find yourself wandering amidst monolithic columns and narrow corridors, where ancient walls lean towards you at strange and unsettling angles. William the Conqueror began the castle, although it was King John who turned it into the royal palace. Queen Elizabeth I sold the property to Sir Christopher Hatton in 1572, and since then the castle has been through wars, quite literally including the English Civil War. During the English Civil War, the Banks family defended it in 2 sieges against Oliver Cromwell's Roundheads. The Lady Banks defended Corfe Castle until she was betrayed by one of her own garrison, who allowed parliamentary soldiers to gain possession of the building, whereupon they set about destroying the edifice. They toppled its mighty walls and undermined its foundations until, within a short period of time, nothing but the hollow shell that you see today remained. It was then handed back to the Banks family, who owned it for 3.5 centuries. In 1982, Ralph Banks gave the site to the National Trust, along with the family's holdings in Purbeck. The historic site in 2021 is very much just ruins, and 2025 still through to today. Now, with this long history, it's no surprise that the castle and its surroundings have been linked to many ghost sightings. The sound of a galloping phantom horse has been heard, and the sightings of an apparition of a man, and there have been sightings of an apparition of a man wearing a big floppy hat as well. The most famous tale is said to be of a figure of a headless lady who haunts the ground and whose mere shade chills the blood of those who cross her. She is believed to be the ghost of the person who betrayed the castle's besieged owners. However, the most persistent phantom is a... Oh, wait.
You had a typo there.
Oh, typo on my part. Apologies, everybody. Now, similarly, there are stories of a weeping child from inside a cottage next to the castle ruins, as well as in the castle grounds. Of course, there are no children around when they hear this, and reports claim that this is the child of the 4th Lord of Bramber, who was not liked by the king, and as a result, his wife and child were starved at Corfe Castle. Corfe's castle's most infamous specter is that of Edward the Martyr, an Anglo-Saxon heir to the throne who was slew by his stepmother, Elfrith. Many people over the years have also reported seeing strange flickering lights moving about the grounds at night. One potential explanation for the lights is that these are the spirits of the royalists killed defending the Dorset site against Cromwell's men. So, if you like a good castle ruin, you can go check out Corfe Castle there. And
beautiful grounds.
Yes. And apologies for the botching that.
The typo.
The typo. My bad.
That's okay. It happens.
It does.
All right, so we're going to move on to the Royal Signals Museum in Blandford Forum. Now, the ability for military commanders to send and receive information at speed whilst preventing the enemy from doing the same has always been the key to military success. Since 1920, this has become the role of the Royal Corps of Signals. The Corps' history has always been marked by leaps in technology and overriding need to maintain fast communications, but it is the signalers who give the Corps its crucial advantage. The men and women that apply old and cutting-edge technologies alike, driven by need and desire to get the battle-winning messages through, no matter what and where they have to operate. All of this is chronicled in the museum, and the institution has roots back to the 1930s. It has stood on the current site in Blandford Forum since 1967. The museum traces the fast-paced and complex history of the Royal Corps of Signals from its origins in the Royal Engineers to the present age of sophisticated digital warfare. Visitors can drive an armored vehicle across virtual landscape and set up a satellite network, as well as practice Morse code and test their marksman skills on a digital range. In addition to the artifacts and exhibits, the museum also has a resident spirit that keeps the staff on their toes. The ghost was once known as Fred, but has since been renamed to Mary, for it's believed that the phantom is a local woman who was due to marry her U.S. serviceman lover during the Second World War. However, it is said that she was murdered just before her wedding day, just adjacent to where this museum has been built. Mary's ghost is credited with moving small objects, creating cold spots throughout the museum, and the sound of phantom footsteps that have been heard in the building. Museum cafe manager Suzanne Raymond says that in her time working at the museum, like many others, had personal experiences with Mary, saying, "We feel her presence more than anything else. The temperature drops and you sense somebody's behind you. I think she's hungry, which is why she comes into the cafe." Catering staff are certain they've heard her footsteps when they go to serve the customer and nobody's there. On other occasions, they say that objects have moved, doors have opened and closed on their own. And cleaner Wendy Brown says she and other cleaning staff refuse to enter the museum at night, will only work during the daytime hours, saying, "I don't go to that top part of that museum. I used to work the evening shift, but wouldn't walk through that part of the museum by myself at night. It just gets so cold."
Chilly museum.
Very chilly museum.
I want to check it out. Sounds like an interesting place. I love these kind of almost offbeat type museums, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But
always fun.
All right. So, moving along. In addition to its architecture, England is also quite famous for its gardens. And amongst its most famous is Kew Gardens.
Which I've been to.
That is Kew, Kew.
Gorgeous gardens.
Yeah. Now, with a history dating back 250 years, Kew Gardens has its own legends, sightings, and poltergeists. The archives at Kew Gardens are home to the official records of the Royal Botanic Gardens. These contain information about the histories, discoveries, studies, and uses of the world's plants and fungi. Amongst these precious resources is a fascinating collection called Kewenza, which chronicles the centuries-long history of the gardens. The Kewenza collection contains ephemeral materials such as leaflets, press cuttings, and even sheet music, all relating to the history or current work of Kew. Amongst these is the supernatural file. Yes, they have a supernatural file, which is pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. Now, the supernatural file includes a whole range of paranormal stories and encounters reported by Kew's staff, including an article from 1974 entitled "The Ghosts of the Royal Botanic Gardens." The article was written for a Kew newsletter by Lillie Clark, a member of the now-defunct Museums Department, and brings together numerous tales from Kew's colleagues about the mysterious and unexplainable phenomena that have been reported over the years, a few of which we have to share with you here. Now first, Kew is home to 5 iconic glass houses and conservatories, but it's the garden's temperate house that is reportedly occupied by a spirit. The ghost of past assistant curator Charles Raffle supposedly haunts this Victorian marvel, which is the largest glass house in the world. Reports say that his activities include opening and closing doors and turning on taps at random. One member of the staff felt his ghostly presence and said, "You can sense there is someone standing beside you and you can see something out of the corner of your eye, but as soon as you turn to look at it, there is nothing there."
Now, for those of you that are a fan of Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte, you may recognize the name. This is actually where Charlotte lived, Queen Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
So it is her palace.
Yeah, which brings us to our next point. Mm-hmm. Members of the royal family have not only spent part of their lives at Kew Palace, but some have died there as well. This does include, again, Queen Charlotte, who passed away in her bedroom on the first floor of the building. Amongst the notable sightings attributed to the nobles, a worker who was renovating gold leaf in the first floor drawing room caught something white moving across the back of the room from the corner of his eye. Around a week later, another one of the workers stripping paint near the King's Library crossed through a corridor and spotted somebody quite small dressed in a long dress who appeared to be holding a candle at the far end. In her article, Dilly Clark suggests the supposed spirit could be the young Prince Octavius, who died at Kew in 1783 at only 4 years old. As was the style at the time, the boy would still have worn long skirts at the age of his passing. Moving along, while the Temperate House is the only glass house at Kew with a reported wraith, plenty of other buildings across the gardens have ghost stories attached. Kew's Herbarium, established in 1853, is reported to have its own poltergeist. The Victorian botanist and president of the Linnean Society, George Bentham, is thought to haunt a room where he worked in the building, with reports of the heavy fire irons rattling against the fender of the fireplace. In another part of Kew, you will find the School of Horticulture. Today, it's a leading center of education, but the building used to be home to Museum Number 2. Late one winter's evening, a staff member was going up the stairs when at the far end of the corridor he saw a woman in a blue crinoline-type dress facing him. In shock, he hurried back downstairs, but later plucked up the courage to return. Finding the woman still standing there, he walked towards her, but as he approached, she mysteriously disappeared. Then there is the Orangery, one of the Kew's cafes, which used to be the garden's timber museum and was the location for a series of noisy encounters. One summer afternoon, when the museum had closed for the day, the curators reported hearing intense knocking throughout the building. Thinking someone had been locked in, they searched high and low through the museum, but the source of the commotion could not be found. On another occasion, the knocking was said to be heard yet again, but with no clear source becoming apparent. There was even a report of footsteps descending a staff staircase, but when checked, no perpetrator was to be seen. Now, not all of the unexplainable stories come from so long ago, and not all of them are of the ghostly variety. In 2002, a number of newspapers printed images of a giant crop circle which had appeared in the center of a wheat field at the riverside end of the gardens.
The circle was measured nearly 6 centimeters across, was perfectly symmetrical, and had a floral design in the center. Curiously, the wheat surrounding the design remained completely intact, and the 8-feet-high walls that surrounded the gardens were not reported to have been breached by the Royal Parks Constabulary. Many theories were suggested, including a prank that the year's horticultural students had, or a promotional stunt for the then-new cinemas alien invasion film, The Signs. Like so many of these supernatural stories from Kew, the truth remains a mystery. As might be expected, there are countless short tales of unexplained occurrences from all ends of Kew Gardens. The grounds of the Queen's Cottage are reportedly the site of a freak cold patch. Just entering through the gate will result in the staff shivering, even on the warmest of days. The Hollywalk was also said to trigger feelings of intense evil and oppression. One member of staff supposedly wouldn't go anywhere near it after dark because the feelings were so powerful. Finally, the Quinzia supernatural file contains one sentence mention of the unspeakable something in the rhododendron dell.
That's it. Just a single mention. Unspeakable something in the rhododendron dell. No further information.
I really want to go walk into that dell again and find out if I feel anything.
Bit of an unsolved mystery with that one, but talk about your foreboding. I mean, you want to go ahead and we'll just wander in there. It's
because that's cryptid. That's everything.
It's something unspeakable.
I mean, I want details.
You want to go toe to toe with something unspeakable.
I just want to go wander and see if I sense it.
Uh-huh.
I'm not saying I want to get into a conversation with it.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I just want to see if I can sense its energy.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
And I just like your guidance.
I would go with you.
Yes, you would.
Somebody would have to haul you out of there.
Yes, you would. They have a pagoda.
That sounds nice.
It's a pretty pagoda.
I'm sure it is.
Nice.
It's an English museum
and
type
you can
thing.
have tea there.
You're dropping hints like anvils. Oh, Patrick. Yeah. Patrick loves it when they use places in Virginia for movies. We do too. We love all the little places that they've done. And Science was a really good movie. They showed how they made the crop circles for the movie, and they used the cornfields of Virginia Tech agriculture students for the scenes with cornfields in the movie. I did not know that.
I did not. I learned something. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. That's really cool.
Yeah. I did love that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie. Except the whole thing, I mean, I'm sorry that...
The tinfoil hats?
Well, I mean, that was funny. But
that was amazing.
Just at the idea that aliens would invade a planet that's 70% water
when
they basically die being touched by water. I mean, okay. It was a good movie, but travel all the way across whatever galaxy to get here?
They just assumed that we wouldn't think of that.
I guess.
Because it was a weird thing that she kept leaving water out. That was not her norm.
No. But anyways, I did enjoy the movie. I'm not knocking it beyond that.
Did we have any other questions that we may have missed while we were reading stories?
No, I don't think so. I think we got all of the questions.
Okay.
Although Patrick did also mention related earlier, the Oscar Wilde mention. Apparently, he and his brother share Oscar Wilde's birthday.
Ah.
So, interesting.
Yes.
But that said, that was our last story for this evening.
Yes. So
appreciate you joining us as always.
Iceland next week.
Yes, when we promise we will in fact be back next week.
Yes.
We have no other plans for next week as of right now. So then I don't think we're going to make any plans for the next week other than to be back here with you.
And working.
Yes.
I was thinking
no W word. No W word.
Haunts.
Okay. All right. Don't use the W word.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Good point. Maybe Patrick, he says maybe the ghosts, aliens, didn't know that they were allergic to water.
This could be true.
Yeah. So.
Because they kind of look like what the...
Yep. But anyways, hope you enjoyed our England Part 2. There will be more England in the future, whether we do an outright Part 3 or whether we sprinkle in more tales from England across the board with our others.
Or just
teams.
Focus on one spot.
Yep. As we do, there's always more to talk about. And so hope that we'll see you back here next week. And again, remember, tours basically going 7 nights a week. And also remember that our Friday the 13th is coming up. It'll be here before you know it. And if you want to join us for that special tour, which I strongly recommend, please do join us.
Yes.
Go ahead and get your tickets now, hauntsofrichmond.com. And with that...
Yeah, because CPRI will always be there, but they actually just had an investigation this past month.
Mm-hmm.
And we were there, so they have new information to share.
Yes, always something new, which is always fascinating.
Yes.
But thanks again for watching, and hope to see you all again next week. And in the meantime, stay spooky.
Bye.